Okay, I think that's working.
Hey Jesse, we lost video on you and it's just showing the Mammoth Voices thing now. If you didn't.
Oh yeah, I clicked stop video for a second.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey Jesse, we lost video on you and it's just showing the Mammoth Voices thing now. If you didn't.
Oh yeah, I clicked stop video for a second.
Okay, good.
That's weird. Yeah, thanks.
Hey Jesse, we lost video on you and it's just showing the Mammoth.
Okay, my microphone's still working?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool. Well, we are just about there. Looks like people are signing in. That's great. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We'll get going in just a second. Welcome, everyone who is signing in. We'll get going in just a second here.
Thanks, Jesse.
Hey Jesse, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Brianna?
Good, doing well. Thanks
Nice.
for doing this.
Yeah, we're working on getting all the kinks worked out here and figured out for our very first Mammoth Voices. We're excited.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. All right, I'll just give it one more minute and then we'll get going here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, I say we get going so we don't run out of time here. Welcome, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the pivotal moment in Mono County election season. Eastern Sierra now proudly takes the helm of the vibrant and crucial show, Mammoth Voices. A heartfelt thank you to Mickey, Kathleen, Nicole, Emily, and Debbie for 8 incredible years. Let's virtually applaud these amazing ladies. I don't know what that sounds like across there, but let's at least show them that we care. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this show owes its excellence to your tireless efforts, ensuring Mono County voters are more informed than ever. So from all of us at Eastern Sierra Now, thank you. Now, a bit of housekeeping. First off, please turn off your cameras and microphones until asked to turn them on for the Q&A session, which will take place the second half of the meeting. And we'd like to thank our advertisers. So as they can attest to you, the other ladies who have run this, it takes a lot to do this. So we reached out for advertising just to help pay the bills and get the stuff done here. So first, just really quick, I'd like to thank the award-winning Devil's Creek Distillery in Mammoth. They're a bourbon made in Mammoth. They are a grain-to-glass distillery focused on barrel-aged spirits, namely whiskey. They are fully family-owned and operated. And we'd also like to thank the Mammoth Chamber Green Business of the Year, High Point Solar. Call Amy at 760-937-5849 for a free quote and to handle all your solar needs. So if you're a business and you're looking to advertise, please reach out to us at mammothvoices@easternsierranow.com. And for non-business owners, contribute at patreon.com/easternsierranow to help us grow and keep Mono voters informed. But enough preamble, let's dive into the heart of today's forum. The District 3 candidates, Paul McFarland and Sarah Walsh. Each candidate gets 3 minutes to introduce themselves, followed by a structured Q&A. Questions will be presented alphabetically, alternating for fairness with timed responses. After the candidates' responses, we'll open the floor to your questions. Raise your hand or type in the chat box. We appreciate your patience as this is our first time and we aim to ensure everyone's questions are addressed. Our session concludes at 1 p.m. So again, thank you for joining us on Mammoth Voices presented by Eastern Sierra Now. Now, without further ado, let's hear from Paul McFarland. Paul, you have 3 minutes.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jesse, for this forum, and thank you to Mickey and all the others that built this forum and kept it going for so long. There's nothing communities need more than sunshine like this, so thanks a lot. It's so awesome to see so many good friends here on the right side of my screen, friends old and new. Thanks for joining in. This is an important time in the county. As Jesse just said, my name is Paul McFarland, and I'm asking for your vote to be the next District 3 supervisor. Folks probably know District 3 runs from the top of Conway Summit all the way down through Mono City, Lee Vining, June Lake, the Owens River headwaters, and up to the top of Mammoth. I've been here for over 2 decades, making a home in beautiful downtown Lee Vining with my wife Yvette and my 3 great kids who are actually up at June today because today is the start of Ski PE for us in Lee Vining. In those 20 years, I've dedicated a lot of time to our community, and my community has taught me a lot in return. I'm a volunteer firefighter, a public utility board member, and I do all the other things that it takes to keep small towns going. I'm a trustee of the Historical Society, treasurer of the PTSO, started the Fire Safe Council, and I'm also the vice chair of LAFCO, which oversees the special districts across the county. But even more than that, my time here has taught me how to collaborate and work with others for mutual benefit. And that's the skill that I want to bring as your next supervisor, the ability to pull us together and get things done, to enable people to play to their full strength and make sure this place stays as wonderful as it is today. Like my campaign slogan said, there's no place like home. Keeping it that way is going to take a lot of work, and I want to work with all of you to ensure that we have it. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Okay, Sarah, you have 3 minutes as well.
Thank you, Jesse, and also thank you to Mammoth Voices. I think, as we have mentioned, does not happen every day. It's been many years since we've had forums, and much less two people running for one position. And I really applaud that that's happening throughout many of the county positions that are on the ballot this year. I'm going to shoot from the hip a little bit. I actually just realized that today is the day that I moved to June Lake 11 years ago. And that was after years of coming here. And I hated leaving. I did not want to leave anymore. And we were younger and we decided that, you know what, we're going to go after our passions and dreams and live in a place where we love. Because over the years of us coming here, it was the community, it was the friends, it was the stoke, it was the passion people had because it was always more difficult to get up here and you have to work to live here. It was the businesses, they're family owned, they're fun, they're passionate, and it was nature. We wanted unparalleled access to public lands to recreate on because that was our lifestyle. We like to get outside. We couldn't find a job. So we had to make our own. In order to move up here, actually Mammoth Mountain was on a hiring freeze that year. And we couldn't find some positions that would pay us enough. And most of our friends work 2 to 3 jobs to live here. That is still not uncommon. So I started a business with my ex-husband at the time, and we founded June Lake Brewing. It takes special character to start a brick and mortar business in a small town. It takes a lot of passion and love for your community and commitment to see it through. I think that's something the Board of Supervisors needs. I would like to see that variety on the Board of Supervisors that has some entrepreneurial spirit. Someone on there that can provide diversity and insight into what it takes to run a business here and start a business, because that is a big economic driver for our communities. As I've mentioned, many of our businesses, they are family owned. And I understand what it takes to start a new business from the ground up. And I would like to bring that expertise to the Board of Supervisors so we can have diversity of where everybody comes from that best represents our community interests. I have been passionate with my community, and I said at the June Lake Forum, I don't want to list down everything because there is a lot, because just starting a business and just recreating here wasn't enough for me. I started immersing myself into my community, as the longest standing one was the Economic Development Forum for the last 6 years, being a commissioner and helping make tourist decisions, responsible tourism messaging, as well as trying to figure out how to make our economy viable here. I'm proud to live where we live. I've worked hard to live where we live, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, let's get to the first question. We're going to start with Paul, and then we're going to alternate after that. So the first one, you will get 5 minutes to answer. Paul, the question is, there is a lot to be decided on a county level about how to proceed with housing development. What are your ideas for developing workforce housing throughout the county, not just your district? Again, 5 minutes.
Awesome. Wow, 5 minutes. Woo.
You can go less, that's fine.
No, that's great. That's more than we've had in the past. And that's one of the hard things about these forums is encapsulating, decades of work, dozens of different organizations and people into a quick response, because there's so many folks to acknowledge, so many programs to thank, backstory to tell. So glad we get a little bit of extra time. Thanks. I appreciate that. I also really appreciate that this question is asked at the county level, and it's not just about one community, one district or another, because I really think we need to acknowledge that we're one big mono family, the town, the county, all of our individual communities. One thing I'm just really afraid of, and I've seen a little bit of it in the past, is when we pit communities against one another. So by asking this question and acknowledging that housing is a regional issue that needs a regional solution, that's going to help bring us together and get it done. Housing is too big an issue for any one community, even one county or town, to solve alone. It's taken years for us to get into this emergency where people are living in their cars while having multiple jobs. And it's going to take us years of working together to get out of it. We need a lot of patience. We definitely need some money, and we need a lot of collaboration. In the fall, I facilitated 2 community housing conversations up in the Mono Basin, one in June and one in Lee Vining. And I think that those meeting sort of embody how we need to move forward with this issue, because we didn't just pull together housing advocates, we pulled together realtors, mortgage brokers, and the Eastern Sierra Community Housing, as well as the county's Community Development Department, to really dive in and identify what the causes and the potential community supported solutions are. Over 80 people showed up to those, which is somewhat unheard of for a local community meeting, other than the candidate forum Sarah and I had, where the community really stepped up. And that was so awesome to see. From those meetings, we identified 4 causes: price, inflexible policies, lack of private land, and a lack of prioritization. And then the people who were there identified 2 main categories of solution: county action and community capacity. When it comes to county action, we're seeing that already. The county is looking into how can we be more flexible with the regulations that govern how people can use their property to create homes today. In some communities, that might mean temporary or multi-year use of an RV. In other communities, it means encouraging the creation of what are called JADUs, which is the conversion of a second home garage or your primary home garage into another home. But that, for community or for county action, we really need that flexibility. We also need county investment. Thankfully, the county now has a solid housing manager on staff, so we have that capacity to drive solutions. And then on the community capacity side, I've been working with Eastern Sierra Community Housing and many others to establish a community housing trust so that we can protect the housing stock we have here, the homes and the apartments and the condos, protect them for locals. Basically, what a housing trust does is it goes in and it buys homes, and then it deed restricts them and it sells them back to community members to ensure that community members can afford a home, and that when that community member decides to leave, they can take their equity with them, but that home gets sold to someone else who's going to be a teacher, a firefighter, work down the street. They're going to be part of our place. I think we've set a model in the Mono Basin that solving this issue is going to be based on collaboration and identifying what the community support. And I'm really excited to dive in and get this going. It's a long time coming, but we are making progress.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Okay, Sarah, I'll repeat the question for you and then you'll have 5 minutes. There's a lot to be decided on a county level about how to proceed with housing development. What are your ideas for developing workforce housing throughout the county, not just your district?
Thank you, Jesse. I think this is also a compound question. It's not just workforce housing, it's also affordable housing. Many business owners, whether it's my size with 10 employees or it's Mammoth Mountain with 2,600, we have taken it upon ourselves to provide workforce housing to our workforce, not because we wanted to, we had to. Personally, I took on 2 properties when I moved here, was able to create 7 long-term living units. That's not necessarily normal, but it's also how we had to operate up here. And affordable housing is something that also needs to be pursued. And there's a lot of restrictions with your income. And I still think that might leave out some populations, but something that needs to be pursued once again. What I believe is there are 3 things. It's going to be building our funds. It's going to be opportunities to buy land and buildings. And it's going to be working with affordable affordable housing developers. So those are the 3 things that I would like to see our county pursue. I think there's some good groundwork that's happening right now with the current supervisors to start building our funds. And going to the meetings, the last Board of Supervisor meeting, they're trying to figure out how to get more money that could be continuous form of money we can use to build our affordable housing funds, which right now is at 1.2. And I was also informed that another 1.5 might be coming that way. $3 million is not enough. Mammoth alone has spent $30 million on its housing needs and affordable housing projects. That just goes to show that we do need a continual way to get money to grow that so we can buy properties and we can sell them to or give them to affordable housing developers with restrictions on what needs to be there that are legally binding, or to buy other places to redevelop ourselves. I know that happened in Walker. It's happened in Bridgeport. And we have some ideas and some parcels in Lee Vining and June Lake. There's a developer now that wants to work and get subsidies and and promise affordable housing with that. I think working with developers is important because there's a lot of reasons why the county cannot take on things that have continual costs, maintenance. And so we need to work with those affordable housing developers so we can still remain in budget for what the county needs to operate. As far as building our funds, what I mentioned at the TOT, the last meeting, they talked about TOT. They looked at two things, the Enhanced Infrastructure Finance Statistic, an EIFD, or a TOT tax in order to have continual funds coming into the housing area. They opted out of pursuing more information for the EIFD. It would cost money to do an analysis to look at what that would be. There's a lot of information out there on the Enhanced Infrastructure Finance Statistic. I won't take all my 5 minutes to go into it, because I will tell you they did go into the TOT. And right now, what they're looking at direction to their CAO, Sandra Moberly, they will be looking at increasing the TOT from 12% to 13 or 14%, is what I gathered from the meeting. And I would like to see those funds be restricted, be earmarked specifically for affordable housing. In order to get a TOT change and an increase like that, it has to go to the ballot. That means your county supervisor is going to have to go out there, put their feet on the ground and talk to their constituents of what this means. Because if you're going to have restricted funds, you need a 2/3 + 1 vote to pass that. And if it's going to be continual, I think that's a great step in the right direction to solve the affordable housing crisis and to get money in the funds that they can do things with. If you don't have money, you're not going to solve this problem. We also need to figure out, like I said, all the developers that we can work with, much like Mammoth already has done with their parcel project, that would make it sustainable for the county to invest in something like that, restrict the funds, restrict the housing for its purposes, and make more units happen. That's the other thing. I don't think this is a unit by unit thing. We need multiple family unit housing. A lot of people are not friendly with the idea of having apartments. There's a lot of not in my backyard mentality. They don't want to see apartments because there's too many people. They don't want to see affordable housing because the socioeconomic status of those people are sometimes not what they want in their neighborhood. They don't want an RV parked in their neighbor's yard because it doesn't look right. But then those same people will also go and not support a year-round RV park for long-term parking. We need to
10
work with our
seconds.
communities to understand. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you. Okay, Sarah, you're going to get to take this first question. As a supervisor, you would be representing the entire county. Can you please name the top 3 issues that are confronting Mono County? And we'll give you 3 minutes.
Thanks for the 5 minutes on the housing.
I figured that was a big one.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so yes, we have a big county. And what I mentioned just before, the socioeconomic status of everyone in this county is different. There's so many different needs in each of the little communities that are in the very long and expansive Mono County. I also want to bring to attention that we're District 3. We have Conway to Mammoth. And it's important to note that we need to work with the other board members, the other board of supervisors that represent their districts. They come with what the needs of their communities are, and we all work together to figure out what are the best courses of action that will benefit the entire county. No one can come in here with as a lone soldier and be like, I'm going to make a difference. You actually have to vote in blocks. You need to vote with your county supervisor, other county supervisors, to figure out what's going on. And that's really important. Top 3 issues. It's money, Mother Nature, and health. For money, we need more money to do what we need to do to help the crisis that is housing, affordable housing, workforce housing in this area. We have a pretty fixed revenue source of taxes and intergovernmental activities. The only way the revenue streams become more robust is if redevelopment happens or reassessments happen. When it comes to Mother Nature, we are at her will, whether she wants to give us a catastrophic fire, smoke, poor air quality, or a historic winter. We need to be prepared with our services, our emergency services, and to have the foresight to see what is coming so we can make sure that we have the infrastructure to help our community. And the last one is health. I am a huge proponent for behavioral health and access to services in this community. It's hard to live here. A lot of people suffer from many different things, whether it's addiction, whether it's the silent suffering of depression. We have lost too many friends in this area to a lot of those issues. And I think accesses to the social services is incredibly important, especially since we don't have robust access to medical services, and many people have to go to Nevada for those. So whatever we can provide here to help the mental health and behavioral health of our community, I'm a big advocate for. I actually have worked with Mayo County Behavioral Health and got first aid certified in for a first responder for mental health. I think it's important, especially as a brewery owner. When I see people come to my bar that want to talk, I want to be able to help them. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, Paul, I'll repeat the question and then you'll have 3 minutes. As a supervisor, you'd be representing the entire county. Can you please name the top 3 issues that are confronting Mono County? 3 minutes.
Cool, thanks. You know, as I said when I announced my candidacy at the Mammoth Town Council meeting a couple months ago, you know, we're one Mono family. The county, the town, from Colville to Chalfont to Crowley to Conway. We really need to acknowledge that a house divided cannot stand. And we really need to figure out how we're going to pull together to address these issues as that Mono family. When you want to try to boil these things down to the 3 main problems, I think they're the priorities that I have led with since the beginning of my campaign, which are homes for local people, emergency preparedness, and economic vitality. You know, we just talked a lot about housing, and housing is an all hands on deck issue. And it's not just about housing, it's about homes and families for everybody here. For emergency preparedness, we need to both prepare for the next emergency, be it ice, fire, flood, or months of smoke, by investing in our local fire departments and building the ties that bind between our emergency responders, as well as work to avoid the next one. And the best way that we can prepare for the next emergency is by investing in ourselves, in our communities. During the next emergency, we might not have help for a while, and being able to rely on a neighbor to help you and know what's going on is key. You know, also to avoid that next emergency, we really need to invest in maintenance and enhancement of our infrastructure. Last winter, fire stations, post office, roads, propane, water systems, they all fell apart under the snow. We can't have these systems fail again. We need to invest in them now to make sure they're resilient for the next emergency, whatever it may be. And for economic vitality, we really need to invest in what brings people here for the first place, and that's our wild public lands. I've been a leader in bringing resources here to steward and care for our place for decades. In 2006, I started the Lakes Basin Stewardship Program to bring paid rangers back to the Lakes Basin and multiply their efforts through volunteerism. That program is still going strong today and has not only grown into a continued Summer of Stewardship program, but also into a town program, the town's recreation program, investing public money in keeping our public lands open and healthy.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, let's get to the next one. Paul, you will start this one. Could you please speak to the topic of fire resilience, wildfire protection, and what is currently being done in the county, and what is your understanding of these projects? You have 3 minutes.
Cool, thanks. You know, I'm glad you asked this question because this is honestly, this is a real bright spot regionally. The regional movement to restore our forests and improve the resilience of our community is really popping right now. It's a true collaboration between government, nonprofits, and individual community-driven organizations like fire safe councils and fire departments. And what I see and what I've been involved in is pulling together regionally on 2 main fronts. Number one is forest restoration, restoring our forests so they are healthier and they can survive a fire. And number 2 is community resiliency, ensuring that our communities are resilient, that we have the resources to push off a fire, as well as that our homes are not ready to just accept fire and burn up. So do the defensible space, you know, close your vents. Both Inyo and Mono counties now employ a wildfire coordinator to bring these resources here. The White Bark Institute, with funding from CAL FIRE and Sierra Nevada Conservancy, is bringing planning and implementation resources for landscape level forest restoration for projects like the Mono Donut. And even private businesses like CG Forest Products are getting grants from the Forest Service to create a local pellet mill. This is what we need, these kind of closed loop programs to make economic use of the wood coming out of our restored forests, as well as teaching our communities how to care for themselves in the event of the next fire. You know, I've been on the front lines as a firefighter, defending homes from Bridgeport to June Lake. I would help found the Mono Basin Fire Safe Council, and we've worked to reduce fire threat by cleaning up dispersed campfires, providing dumpsters for folks to put their defensible space wood waste in. And now we're working with Wendy and Beth from the county to build FireWise community organizations. Everybody on this call should figure out how they can help create a FireWise community organization. It's a best model I've heard for protecting our place. We got to get ahead of the fire threat. A wildfire that burns out of control not only could destroy our homes, but it's going to destroy our economy and our water. People aren't going to come to a burned forest. Thanks very much. Sorry, Jesse.
You're good. Thanks, Paul. You have plenty of time. Okay, Sarah, same question. Could you please speak to the topic of fire resilience, wildfire protection, and what is currently being done in the county? And what is your understanding of these projects? 3 minutes.
I think wildfire obviously is a really huge topic here. As they say in June Lake, we live in a tinderbox. We've seen a fire in June Lake happen because of chains dragging behind a loader on June Mountain. It was a complete accident and it's scary. It's something that we need to be continually on top of. And I'm really proud right now of the Eastern Sierra Climate and Community Resilience Project. I think it's one of the biggest projects going on right now, and it's affecting Mammoth at this very moment. This huge project, it covers thousands of acres around Mammoth Lakes. It's called the Mammoth Donut Project. It covers, it's a huge restoration project that the Eastern Sierra has not seen the likes of. The thousands of acres, it's gonna be millions of dollars, and it's gonna take close to 2 decades to complete. But why they started doing it is because they identified that the forests that are surrounding Mammoth Lakes, as well as other areas in our communities, they're not healthy. They need our intervention because of the ways they've been managed and because of climate change. Right now, the density of them, the trees are growing shorter and closer together, and you have to go in there with mechanical and other manual techniques to thin the forest to get them back to their historic densities. And that is what this whole effort is doing. And I think it needs a lot of attention. Janet Hatfield, who has presented at the Board of Supervisors and is with the White Park Institution, is doing a wonderful job. And they're all doing it for Mammoth Lakes. And this is going to grow into something bigger and provide more opportunities. So in their priorities, there's 8 goals in this whole project, and the top one is to protect the town of Mammoth Lakes. They identified that if a fire does happen, it could be a catastrophic event. So they want to do things now to be preventative in case that happens for the community, the people, the businesses. But furthermore, it's the economic disruption that that would cause in this whole corridor. 100 miles north and south, if we lost Mammoth Lakes to a catastrophic fire, it would destroy the economy and economic viability of many communities in the area. So I think this is an incredibly large and important project that is going on. The Inyo National Forest does have very difficult parameters. It's isolated. It doesn't have the infrastructure. It doesn't have what it needs. We don't have logging industries. We need to, once again, work in which what this effort is doing to cultivate people to get into the industry so they can use them and have our own infrastructure here to do other smaller projects based off the infrastructure that this one leaves behind and the funding that it also can bring, being they are trying to access millions of dollars to help our community. I think you guys, anyone should look into the Eastern Sierra Climate and Community Resilience Program.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, this next question is for you. Please name what you consider to be the top 2 challenges facing your district, and we'll give you 2 minutes on this one.
All right. It's housing in Tioga Pass for District 3. Our housing is workforce housing, affordable housing. It's pursuing any developers who would like to develop their space and how we can support them, subsidize them, and then have restrictions on the use of that land that are legally binding. Right now, it's a tough time for development. Prices are high, interests are high, and we need to take time to build our funds in order to do that. I think June Lake is in especially need of workforce housing. Lee Vining is also in need of workforce housing. We all have the same issues. Any of our challenges really lead down to that. The next one is Tioga Pass. It's a light switch when Tioga Pass opens for not just Lee Vining, but also for June Lake. And it is a lifeblood for Lee Vining. So it's working with the National Park Service, working with the Gateway Community Forums to keep our needs and our desires with the National Park Service on the top of their minds, to make sure we're communicating, collaborating with them. If they're having issues opening because of any infrastructure issues, how can the county step in to help? Because if we're helping them, we're also helping these communities have economic vitality, which they very much need, especially in Lee Vining. They have 5 months to make the money they need from their businesses. I want to help them and our community in June Lake and to have the information they need, and the people coming on that pass. I remember, gosh, the snow removal. If we could just work with the National Park Service to have a window of opportunity of when the pass could be open, that would be something to ask them so we can at least work towards some sort of goal. I think goals give people motivation. And I'd like to also ask the Park Service to put some goals down to help our gateway communities.
Perfect. Thank you. You guys are both great at being right on time. I'm impressed. Okay. Next one is for you, Paul.
Yep.
Please name what you consider to be the top 2 challenges facing your district. 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on these already. It was funny when Sarah mentioned Tioga Pass, I could just hear one of my best friends, Wayne Beavers, saying, "That's my priority, get that pass open." And, you know, getting that pass open means partnerships. And this last winter, I facilitated a number of community conversations, not only with the Park Service, but I also brought the Yosemite Gateway partnership into Lee Vining so that we could create a regional voice to work with the Park Service, not just on the road, but also on things like the long-term closure of Tuolumne Campground and the access issues that really affect our side of the hill. So yeah, Tioga Pass is important, but that's a very difficult issue with a lot of regulatory sideboards that need to be worked on. But when it comes to the top 2 challenges, I think, we've already hit on them, and I'll extend that 2 by going to 3, and that's homes for local people, emergency preparedness, and economic vitality. And while we've got those 3, the thread that binds all of those together is really about keeping and protecting what we have here. And that's livable communities with vibrant schools, unique local businesses, functioning special districts that can provide real services like water, sewer, fire protection. We need to invest in the people that make this place the place. All of us have come here with a dream to make this place home. I'm running because I want to ensure we can keep that dream alive for all of us and for our kids and for those who come after us. It's going to be a lot of work to do that, but no matter how many challenges we identify, collaboration is going to be the way we're going to get it done.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Okay, we'll start with you on this one, Paul. Considering that every civic leader has a different leadership style, please share your individual style with us. And how might your style help the council board be more effective in its strategic planning and implementation? 2 minutes.
2 minutes. I think I've demonstrated my leadership style on issue after issue, and it's collaborative action. Collaborative action is what strategic planning is all about. You get everyone to stop, come together, and collectively find solutions that work and implement them with everyone playing to their strengths. And that's what I'm trying to do with housing. And that's what I did as the lead facilitator for the Camp Like a Pro program last year. When all of us were freaking out about the masses of new campers coming here and leaving a lot of stuff all over the place and turning our residential streets into campgrounds, a core group of us got together and we said, we can fix this. We have the tools to do this. And so we sent out a broad invite. Over 70 people showed up that February to a meeting representing 36 agencies and nonprofits across 3 counties. For 2 hours, I led a collective brainstorm to identify the causes and the solutions to the camping problem. We left that first meeting with a volunteer team of 5 leaders led by masters in their field. And in 3 months, we had a full-blown education, stewardship, and enforcement campaign. We had an app telling you where you could legally camp. We had flyers, we had stickers, we had posters, we had education, telling folks how to love our place. All of that was driven by supporting people to play to their strengths, by collaboratively identifying what the problems are and then working with towards the solutions for mutual benefit. That's my leadership style: inclusive, collaborative, and focused on getting things done. And that's what I'm going to bring as your next supervisor.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Okay, Sarah, same question. Considering that every civic leader has a different leadership style, please share your individual style with us, and how might your style help the council board be more effective in its strategic planning and implementation? 2 minutes.
Thank you. You know, I took this question incredibly seriously. It's just the nature of who I am, and also being a business owner. I have always been known as a participative leader. That is someone who engages with everyone that's involved with the issues, because the best information you're going to get are those with their boots on the ground that are doing the work, whether that's with Caltrans, whether that is with the county plows, whether that is working with our housing opportunities manager. If there's something going on, we need to work with the people that are doing the work themselves to involve them in the decision-making process, because I feel like that's how the best outcomes are. That's where the best outcomes are from. It's from being curious. I like to be a curious person. As I'm coming into this, I'm passionate about my community. I'm passionate about public politics. And according to my landlord, I'm a glutton for punishment for doing it. But if anyone's getting into public politics, it's because they care. And it's more than just a job. There's so much to give as a public politician. There's also so much to lose. When I look at the meetings and the forums we're doing, which are exciting and challenging, it's my daughter watching. It's Paul's kids, you know, it's my staff watching me. It's the community members that I'm a part of nonprofits or boards with. I want to make them proud. I want to represent our community, and I want to do it fairly. And I want to make sure I have everybody's interests in mind, not just my own. Being a leader is being able to talk to everybody around you so you can form educated opinions to figure out how to solve that problem. And that is one thing I think our board of supervisors would use in that diversity. What I said in the beginning, it'd be nice to have an entrepreneurial spirit on that board to provide that, that perspective, because perspective is everything. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Sarah, we're going to have you start with our final question. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process for your district? 2 minutes.
All right. That's an easy one. It's something I already do right now and have been doing for a long time. It's going out and talking to people. I am a social person, and I love to get into conversations, especially one-on-one. These large forums are tough for me. And I really love having one-on-one conversations. It's going, when I go to coffee, I'm talking to the cashier. If I have an issue, I call somebody I know that will be educated on that decision. I go around and talk to all my community members. I join the Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the Women's Club. I talk to my little loopers. I go to the school, participate in this, you know, a PTO. I go to the mountain, participate in ski programs. You be a part of your community. That's how you get their opinions. That's how you get what their needs are. You be a part of the forums and you put yourself out there, and it takes a lot of time. And that's why being in public office is important. You need someone that'll go out of their way to get themselves informed, because it's their job to represent everyone's opinion. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Paul, same question. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process for your district?
You know, public service is, it's not about the me, it's about the we. And, you know, if I'm your representative, you can count on me to do the work to ensure that the we gets heard. And in order to ensure the we gets heard, that means not just sitting back and waiting for those who have the time to engage on a given issue to weigh in. But I'll do what I've done for years, and that's actively reach out and pull people into the conversation from all sides. That's what I've learned is critical to get anything done working here. This is what I did for the Mono Basin housing meetings I mentioned earlier. We didn't just pull in housing advocates. We also pulled in realtors, mortgage brokers, county staff to help inform the discussion. We didn't just put up flyers, but we called people to get them there. And we paid to have our materials translated and paid to have a translator there to ensure that Spanish-speaking members of our community were included. You know, people's lives are busy. Life is busy. Many of the processes that as a supervisor you engage in take a long time and go on for a long time. If you're going to truly represent your community, you've got to go out, meet people where they are, be willing to listen to all sides, and from all of that different input, craft something that is balanced and works for as many people as possible over the longest amount of time. You know, for the Mammoth district, which is a large portion of this district, I plan to attend town council meetings as well as really push for joint town council board supervisors meetings every quarter. Again, we're one mono family. Let's pull that together. Thanks, Jesse.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Okay, we are going to give each candidate a 2-minute wrap up. We're going to start with Sarah since we started with Paul, and then after that, we will open the floor to questions. So Sarah, we'll start with you. Wrap up for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Jesse. I am very excited for the opportunity to represent District 3 for Mono County. I think our county should, and our district as well, should be very proud that we have 2 candidates that are very passionate about what we do. We're informed and we're active community members. It's not all the time, as I mentioned in the beginning, that you have 2 people running in a small community. And I think it's really important that we foster other people to feel empowered to run for offices so that the Board of Supervisors looks like the demographic it represents. Local elections and being a local politician is the only level that I would probably ever go to, simply because you get to see the results of what you enact. You get to see the people that it affects, and you get to live it every day. I have skin in this game. I have my business that still operates, my staff that still count on me, and I do not want to let them down. I get to see everybody every day, and I get to reach out to them. And I would love to be the most accountable Board of Supervisor to them. I would like to represent the interests that are in not just my community of June Lake, but in Mono City, Lee Vining, and in Mammoth. I love to recreate in all of those places and have friends throughout them all. And I would like to make our community proud and represent everybody's perspective.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Paul, 2-minute wrap up for you.
Thanks. You know, democracy only works when the people do. And all of us here this afternoon are making that work. And, you know, thanks to Sarah and all the other candidates who've thrown their hat in this ring to make this process work. It's not easy. You lose sleep, you spend a lot of time, but there's a reason that it's not easy. And that's because it's really, really important, because the decisions and actions that your representatives make affect every part of our lives and every part of our landscape here. I really think that I have put in the time, I have done the work, I have learned through humility and constant processes to figure out how to work with others to pull people together and create real solutions that work. And that's why I'm running. If I didn't think I could make a difference for everybody in this district, I wouldn't be putting myself, my family, and all of you through this. I really believe we can do this. And I think that I've built the skills over time to be a very effective supervisor for everyone in District 3 and for Mono County. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. These are serious issues, fire and housing, but we can do it. And I have the skills to help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Okay, we're going to open it up to the floor now. If anybody would like to ask any questions, and I would like to ask the candidates, please keep your answers to a minute or so if possible, just because we need to make sure everybody gets the chance. But if we're not getting a lot of questions, wax eloquent. So
be careful.
Any questions? And if you'd like me to ask a question for you, type it in the chat box. I will be happy to do that for you. Otherwise, I am not seeing any hands. Oh, there's one. Okay, Constance Miller, would you like to ask your
Hi,
question?
yeah, Connie, and we're here in Mono City. Thank you both so much, and Jesse for running this. It's really important to have these forums. I would like to burrow in a little bit more on the winter emergency preparedness issue. You can imagine we all won't forget last winter for a while, especially here in Mono City, the North Shore communities, where when we were without egress, no road access, without power, single-digit temperatures, blizzard conditions for many days. And I worried a lot about medical emergency, water, food for people. I'm wondering if you have any ideas about how to work better together, SCE, the county, emergency services, sheriff, search and rescue, other agencies that Caltrans, NDOT, in ways to keep us and to work ahead rather than when the emergency comes. Thank you very much.
All right, whoever would like to start.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I mean, Connie, you're right. Last winter was tough. It was tough for all of us. But last winter, your community, as you know, Lee Vining, June Lake, we saw our communities pull together and help one another in ways I think we forgot. I think one of the best ways to be prepared for that next emergency to ensure that nobody gets left behind is to build those ties that bind our community together, to make sure your local fire department has a list of every single person in town and what they need, to make sure that neighbors are checking on neighbors and create the tools to make sure that communication happens. You know, many of you who live in Mono City or Lee Vining know the roles that a lot of us played last year. I'm not going to take a lot of time retelling those stories, but go and ask, because there was a lot of pretty amazing things that happened.
Sarah?
I think that historic winter really highlighted how vulnerable the Mono City community is and how it can get locked in because of snow. And I think that there can be more preparedness. Mono City doesn't have the pleasure of having a little market there that they can go get things in case they need it. I remember people from Mono City skinning over the avalanche area to stay in our communities just for housing to get out of there. I think there needs to be egress plans. There needs to be re-looked at with our public works and see what we can do if this happens again to support it. I am very proud of the fact that we do have the hydro plants, and Mono City was able to get power more quickly because they were able to access transformers from those plants. It's still, you guys went a long time without power. And I think that does need to be looked at. I don't have a direct answer right now of what that will be, but I think we could put our minds together and make something that'll make the community feel safe. And we'll be looking for your input to do that.
Excellent. Okay, I have a great question from Stacy Corliss here in the chat box. One thing she is really concerned about is how local government works with tribes on project planning, partnership, and general engagement beyond checking the box of formal consultation. How would each of you approach this?
Yeah, I'll start, and I would say that you approach this issue with the utmost respect for tribal people and the sovereignty of their governments and humility. And, you know, I've had a long history of working with the Kutsetica tribe in Lee Vining to advance their decades-long work for tribal recognition. I think that's, if there is any priority when it comes to tribal consultation, it's that. We need to ensure that our tribes and our local native people have the representation that they deserve by law so that they can create their sovereign governments and be respected and engage in the process as sovereign entities. The best way to approach that is just like I answered the other question about how are you going to ensure people are part of decision making. You have to be part of the tribal discussion. You have to go and listen to people, understand where they are coming from without any without anything, basically. Understand truly where they are coming from and advance their perspective respectfully.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul.
I think it's going out of our way to engage them and communicate with them. And if something is happening where you feel like they need to be involved in a planning procedure, go out of your way to reach out to the tribal leaders and let them know what's going on. Opening yourself up to opinions is sometimes difficult because it can make things more complicated. But I feel like as someone in public office, they are your constituents as well. Yes, they are their own nation. And I like to see some tribes actually get the federal recognition in our communities, and some don't have it. And because they don't have it, they don't have access to some of the federal support that they could get and receive. And I feel like it's our job as a county to help them navigate those waters if they need it and listen to them if they want something different or some change.
Okay, excellent. And looks like we have a question from Jorah Fogg here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious how each of you would plan to engage outside of our county with, national, I can't remember the names of the various organizations, but national groups that represent counties. I think that the Rural Counties Commission, how you would represent our issues in the state legislature and in Washington, D.C. Any ideas you have about that? Thank you.
You took the last two, Paul. I can do this one.
There you go.
Thank you, Jorah. And this is ingrained in the structure of the Board of Supervisors. There are different committees that we all are assigned to and talk about at the beginning of the year to make sure we're spreading ourselves out to all the areas where we can advocate for what we need and lobby at the state and national levels for other resources that we can use. I actually have a fun story. I remember attending, actually sitting our beer down with Laura Smith, who's running for Mono County Supervisor in Inyo, or not Mono County, Inyo County Supervisor. And they had a beer tasting at these intergovernmental meetings and intercounty meetings. And it was exciting. So there is a lot of collaboration that's happening now, and it is ingrained in what we do as this job.
Yeah, Jory, I think you're referring to things like the National Association of Counties and the California Council of Rural Counties. Those are two organizations, and I might be getting the last name. It's got a lot of R's and C's in it wrong. Those are two associations that our local supervisors are really involved in to ensure that county level issues are respected at both the state and the federal level. And that's really important for us as a rural county because we're a small county in the nation's most populous state. So many of the solutions that we see come out of Sacramento, while they might really work for, say, an LA county or even a Fresno county, they don't necessarily work for a Mono County where our communities are small and far apart. But that being said, I have a long history of working on legislation and regulatory issues in DC at the national level, in Sacramento at the state level, as well as locally. And so I hope that if I'm your next supervisor, to pull on those connections that I have, the skills that I've built walking the halls in Sacramento, walking the halls in DC, and figuring out how to tell our Mono County story effectively to bring us the resources that we need to do what we need to do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Paul. We have a question from Jay Kruger. What are your views on what Mono County can do to be more climate resilient and how we can mitigate the effects of climate change here in the Eastern Sierra?
I can go with that one again since you were 2 for 2. I think the biggest project is that ESCCRP resilience project going on, and climate change is real. Our climate is changing drastically with volatile winters to hot summers, and it's not a pattern anymore. I think that we have to have human intervention when it comes to our public lands so we can have healthy forests. That takes money, that takes grants, that takes a lot of collaborative efforts among all the different landowners and managers in the area. What can we do to mitigate climate change? I think the first one is acknowledge that it's real And the next is to see what resources we have and organizations we can work with to make it safe. With the forest, to me, that's the biggest effect of climate change, and how it's affecting a lot of our community financially is insurance. Getting fire insurance in this area is impossible. I personally go through it with all my endeavors in my insurance. We're relegated to the FAIR plan. What can we do to do these resilience projects and then advocate with the state that, look, we're doing it. We have skin in the game. The county's putting in money. Now, how can you also help us by changing some of the environments of insurance and other things that trickle down because of climate effect?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Climate change is real. And over the last couple of years, we've all learned what it smells like. And it smells like smoke. And when I think of how we're going to address the climate whiplash that we're living through for the next generation or more, it's really two issues come to mind, is how to deal with fire and how to deal with water. You know, we're living pretty right now because of last winter, because we had so much rain and snow that fell. If this year was like 2017, where Lee Vining's water system lost a huge amount of its single spring inflow, we'd be in a very different place. But we're living on last year's largesse. We need to invest in infrastructure to ensure that we are as efficient with water as we can be, that we can use it and store it potentially when we have it, and that we are ready for the next time we have massive inundations of fire and smoke. And again, I get back to my infrastructure investment earlier. When Connie's question about Mono City, you know, back in the day when I first moved here, there was an old dirt road that went around where the avalanche came down on Highway 395. And I learned that it was called the Avalanche Escape Route. Well, over the last couple of years, that road has really fallen apart because of climate change, because we're seeing massive gully washer rainstorms that basically blew the road out, and no one will take responsibility to fix it. If that road had been in place, that highway blockage probably could have been cut in half or by 3/4. So I've been an advocate to get that road back. We need to remember many of the things we've forgotten about the redundancy and resiliency of our infrastructure and invest in it so that it can survive the pressures that are coming.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. All right, we've come to the end of Mammoth Voices presented by Eastern Sierra Now. Thank you all so much for showing up. I know your time is valuable and we really, truly appreciate it. Especially Sarah Walsh and Paul McFarland. Thank you for giving us a lot to think about when it comes to the voting day here. So thank you so much. I'd like to remind everyone, February 1st, we will have Mammoth Voices with 2nd District candidates, Rhonda Dugan and Lauren Kitts. So look for your emails for that. If you aren't signed up, please go to Eastern Sierra Now, where you can sign up on the email list and get logged in and be ready for that. So thank you all so much. Thank you for your questions. And again, thank you, Paul and Sarah, for showing up today for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, everyone.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jesse.